The stage set for the greatest stalemate in human history. Their lives and the fate of an entire continent. Now, in your hands.
Alright, howdy folks, and welcome back to the channel. Today, a little while ago, the first screenshots and trailer, as well as a Steam store page for the Great War Western Front were all published online, and I figured we could take a look at all of that in this video. Now, a quick housekeeping note, if I sound any different, I've got the grade vid 19 right now, and I plan to return to more regular scheduled videos and streams as soon as I get over that. Now, that being said, the most notable thing about this new game is the fact it's actually being made by ex-Command & Conquer developers, who besides their work on the Command & Conquer games, they've also helped develop the C&C Remastered Collection, as well as the very famous Star Wars Empire at War RTS. So the Great War Western Front, or from now on we'll just call it simply the Great War, will see you take control of either Allied or Central Power forces during World War I from 1914 to 1919, allowing actually for both real-time and turn-based strategy gameplay. However, before we get into more of the details, let's take a look at that initial trailer and then go over all the information that's currently public.
It would take but a single act to spark a war, the likes of which humanity had never known. Countless millions would now fight to hold the line, with success measured in inches. The stage set for the greatest stalemate in human history. Their lives and the fate of an entire continent. Now, in your hands.
As mentioned, you can actually play the game in either the more traditional RTS way, as a local field commander who commands troops to dig trenches, perform assaults, and most importantly, if we're talking about World War I, go over the top of the trenches. Or you can play as a theater commander who deploys forces, performs research to unlock new technologies such as aircraft and tanks, and then determine the larger overall war plan. Now, one thing I was actually very happy to read about is the fact that they are going to have persistent battlefields, which is one thing I could not stop talking about when it came to the Regiments RTS, where vehicle wrecks, craters, trenches, and basically any sort of damage or interaction with the terrain would remain to be seen there in the next battles. This really gives you the feeling of fighting an ongoing conflict, and it's not like the local population just quickly rebuilt everything in between all the battles. So the Great War will have similar mechanics, where battlefields you have fought over before will keep the damage and destruction you and your enemies have inflicted upon it. What's interesting here is they specifically mentioned trenches, obviously a huge part of World War I, and of course also craters staying behind to be seen in future battles, though I do wonder what will happen to any buildings that will get damaged along the way. Interesting here is that these trenches will not only be a visual holdover from previous battles, they can actually be remanned and can thus give some ad hoc advantages to one side or the other in future battles. So keep that in mind when you're digging trenches everywhere. this actually might come to haunt you in future battles on that same map. Besides keeping track of these persistent battlefields, you'll also have to keep in mind that as the game progresses from 1914 to 1919, snow and rain will impact your soldiers and weapons performance. Though it's not mentioned specifically, it would make sense for snow to make it harder for your troops to move around the battlefield and thus cause them to be slowed down, and for artillery maybe having a harder time acquiring targets in heavy rain, or just basically have a reduced range due to more limited spotter visibility. Now, the actual effects of weather on your troops will be, however, is not 100% clear. The developers have partnered with the Imperial War Museum to help make the game authentic and to help to accurately try to portray World War I era combat with a lot of effort put into making the player feel like an actual commander of the time. And as mentioned, you'll be able to play as both the Allies or the Central Powers as you attempt to either replay history or rewrite history, with each faction having unique abilities and gameplay styles that'll make them feel different from each other. The campaign will begin in 1914 with Archduke Franz Ferdinand being shot, and it'll see you go through some of the landmark battles that shaped the Western Front during World War I. Throughout the campaign, you will unlock more concepts and mechanics to be used in battles, as well as advancements in aerial and gas warfare. The devs claim that no playthrough will be the same, as depending on your research order, certain technologies will unlock either sooner or later. At launch, the game will have 4 modes: the campaign, historical battles, skirmish, and surprisingly, multiplayer. Historical battles will be one-off battles based on some of World War I's most significant battles, like Verdun or the Somme, to try and see if you can match the cunning of commanders at the time. Skirmish is a way for you to set up the game in any way you want, which will hopefully include some sort of co-op-esque mode where you can fight against the AI in a 2v2 or bigger game. However, I'm not sure if that's going to happen, seeing as far as I can find, the multiplayer aspect of the game will just feature a 1v1 at the most, so wondering if there will be co-op or if it's just PvP, we'll have to see. So with that being said, we've come to the end of this video for now, but I can only say that I'm very excited to see what the team at Petroglyph is going to bring us. I've always wanted to see a World War II Command & Conquer game, and I sadly think this might be the closest we are going to get to it anytime soon. Though interestingly enough, a World War I Command & Conquer game I had never thought to see the light of day. So what do you think about the Great War Western Front so far? Let me know in the comments down below, and I hope to catch you in the next one when I'm hopefully going to be feeling a little better.